So, welcome. I'm Paul Seal. I'm going to do a talk that I did at the UK festival. What can't have been too bad because they've asked me to do it here. It's called Simplifying Umbraco Cloud Deployments with CI/CD, that being continuous integration and continuous deployment. Raise of hands. Anybody already done this? Anybody? Oh, quite a lot. Right, you can go into the hackathon then. The rest of you stay here. You might learn something. If not, you might enjoy the comedy gifts and things. So yeah, as I say, I'm Paul Seal. I'm Umbraco Tech Lead at Clarkswell. I'm also an Umbraco Master, and I'm proud to say I'm now 8 times Umbraco MVP. Thank you. And also I'm on the Umbraco Cloud Advisory Board. I'm quite passionate about Umbraco Cloud. I wouldn't have said that when it was on Umbraco 8, if I'm honest. But now it's brilliant, so I can definitely say that. Last year, I know it looks weird, there's a quote from me. I'm giving you my quote, but last year we were asked for quotes for Codegarden about Umbraco Cloud and the CI/CD pipelines and things like that. Matt Bliss gave a quote, and I gave a quote. And basically, I just want to say that at Clarkswell, we absolutely love the integration between Azure DevOps and Umbraco Cloud for CI/CD. It's like having the best of both worlds. It was a longer quote, but Adam told me to cut it down, so you have to blame him for that. So with it being the best of both worlds, basically what I mean is we can build how we would have built anyway, regardless of whether it's going to Umbraco Cloud or if it's going to a web app in Azure or whatever we want. We'll build the same locally, but then it's the deployment side that changes. So it's really nice to be in that position. So the benefits of this talk, hopefully you're going to find out that you can build it your own way. You're going to see how you can use a pull request process with your sites that are on Umbraco Cloud, because I used to find that quite difficult before. And you're just going to have simple deployments. Now, this talk, I don't want to scare you off, but it has been broken down into 80 steps, just 80. But some things that take a long amount of steps are worth it. If you know me, you know I'm obsessed with London.
You're not sharing right now.
Oh.
Because it's frozen.
Oh, OK. What would you like me to do? That's all right. This is killing a bit of time for me. Never goes smooth for me. Last time I did a talk at Codegarden, the things behind the crowd was all falling on them. I think if they remembered that, they probably wouldn't have accepted me to do a talk. We'll try again. I'm not starting again. Can you see it? No? Should we imagine it? No? I did send the slides if you want to put them up yourselves. It's always me. No? Let's just stay calm, it's fine. I've got USB-C if you've got one instead.
Give it 1 minute.
We'll give it a minute, apparently. Anybody got any jokes? I've got one. I don't know. Whenever I see my Spanish friend, I always use the word mucho. It means a lot to him. Well, muchos. Thank you. I've used that one before. No? Good job I've got my glasses on. I plugged in like 15 minutes early as well. Should I just try talking through? I think I might be able to talk through some of the bits. No, it's coming. It was the 80 steps bit, I'm sure it was.
It's strange seeing it.
Hey. Well, at least I got a round of applause for something. Right, here we go. So yeah, I've already told you, Paul Seal, already told you the quote. So the benefits, told you that. We got to the steps. So yeah, I was just about to put you off. It's made up of 80 steps, but that's okay, because it's going to be worth it. There was half of you that didn't put your hand up when you said you've done it before or not. But as I was saying, if you know me, you know I'm obsessed with London. And so I thought I'd bring a bit of London into this and just explain that some things are worth it. To get to the top of Big Ben, it's only 399 steps. So that's a lot more steps than mine. Or if you were going to go to the top of the Gherkin, that's 1,037 steps. So as we go through the talk, we'll have some Codegarden friends that will help indicate where we are through the talk, so you don't, so you can, it gives you a bit of like a progress bar. Right, so what's the agenda today then? So the agenda, we're going to look at the history of version control and deployments and things like that, what the current landscape is, and then we'll have a look at how we set up CI/CD in Azure DevOps and Umbraco Cloud. And then we'll have a look at the outcome, what we're left with at the end. So let's have a look at the history then. I like to call it the good old days. So first of all, going to need a show of hands. When it comes to version control, anybody remember using version control where it's just basically folders? And we've got my website v2, my website final. This is the one. This is the 1A. What about on-prem servers? So where I used to work, we used to have Homer, Marge, and Bart, or maybe some, what's that, Star Trek characters, anything like that? And also, what about deployments to FTP? People used to do that? Right now, leave your hand up if you're still doing that. Yeah, I knew there would be some. Oh, hang on, my hand was up. So yeah, the current modern landscape, well, I think it's modern. After watching the MCP talk, I don't know anymore. We've got IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. Put your hand up if you know what they all mean. Not bad. I don't. So starting off with IaaS, which is actually infrastructure as a service, we've got features such as virtualized computing, on-demand infrastructure, scalability and flexibility, and we've got benefits where basically it will save you cost. You can read, I'm not going to go through them all, but examples of this is like on AWS, Azure, or Google Cloud Platform. PaaS, Platform as a Service. So this is a managed platform. It's got integrated dev tools. It simplifies the development process. It reduces the time to market. And a good example of this is Azure App Services. And then finally, we've got SaaS. So software over the internet. So this is, you pay for a subscription to some software, basically. It's accessible from any device, unless you've got IE11, probably. And examples of this are maybe Google Workspace, Office 365, you know what I mean. So which one is Umbraco Cloud? Put your hand up if you think it's IaaS. No? Can't, no? Incorrect, thank you. PaaS. And what about SaaS? Well, it's actually PaaS with a little bit of SaaS. So yeah, this is my thoughts on Umbraco Cloud as PaaS. So it's a managed platform. You get automatic upgrades, and it's a focus on dev and not infrastructure. And that's the key, really, to this talk. It's all about us being able to build how we want to build, deploy it out to Umbraco Cloud, and not really care about managing where it's hosted or anything like that. And that's what I love about it. So we've got a project. The project overview. We're going to create a project in Azure DevOps. We're going to copy the code from Umbraco Cloud. We'll get it working locally, well, after a few goes anyway. But don't worry, there's no live demos. I'm not that silly. Not after this lot. And then we'll create some pipelines. We'll set up some branch policies. And then we're going to test out our new pull request process. So hopefully, most of you will be familiar with this screen. Put your hand up if you're not. Oh. Okay, so this is the Umbraco Cloud screen in an Umbraco Cloud project. What we've done here is we've just created a new project in Umbraco Cloud. We've built our site, and now we want to clone this down locally. But before we do that, if we're going to integrate with CI/CD, we definitely want to have a development environment. So this screen here, chance for some excellent animation there, we're going to create a development environment. And then we're going to obviously confirm the cost. Unless it's free with the plan, depending on the plan that you're on Umbraco Cloud with, you might actually get a free dev environment. I don't think you get it on the starter plan. I think you get it from standard and above. Once you've done that, you confirm the cost, and then it will set up your development environment. Definitely worth waiting for that. When it's all complete, you will have what looks like this. Your development environment on the left and the live environment on the right. And with Umbraco Cloud, one thing to make sure we always do is work on the lowest environment or the furthest to the left, and then push those changes up through to, if you've got a staging environment, you push it to staging after and then to live. Please don't be that person that is editing on live and then wondering why it's not working, things like that. But we've all been there. Put your hands up if you've all been there. Hey. So then, what we're going to do now is we're going to create a project in CI/CD. Now, I say we're going to create a project. I couldn't create it because I don't have the right permissions because of ISO and things like that. So I got someone to create a project for me. And in there, I went to the repos, created a repo for my cloud project, because I want to be able to work in Azure DevOps. I want to have the code stored there. And so I'm going to clone down an empty repo. Woohoo, little animation again. So a quick way to clone it down, you use the copy button there, and then we open up the command line, and we just do git clone and the URL. We've got a bit of an update, so we are partway through. Kim's going to help us work out how far through these steps we are. So he's 25% of the way up Big Ben now. So now that we've cloned our Azure DevOps repo, and we've brought that down locally, we also want to clone our Umbraco Cloud repo. So there's a handy clone button there. There you go. And, oh, sorry, I should be not dragging it out with those clicks now, sorry. And then we want to git clone the Umbraco Cloud repo to a folder. What I like to do is have a folder called CI/CD Cloud Project, and then inside that I have one folder for the Umbraco project, and I have one folder for the Azure DevOps project. And then what I'll do is that will all pull that down. If anybody's interested in the fancy terminal, put your hands up if you're interested in the fancy terminal. Just look up Scott Hanselman and, what's it called? Something about Posh Git, I think it was. Oh, my Posh. There's the Posh Git. Thank you. And then, so he will help you set that up. There's a really good blog post out there. There might be some videos as well, but that's how I did it. And if I'm honest, I also got help from other members of the Umbraco community. So once we clone that down, this is what it looks like when you've cloned your Umbraco Cloud project locally. So we want to click on and select all of those files apart from the Git folder. And we want to copy that over into our Azure DevOps cloned repo. Remember, we had the empty Azure DevOps repo, and we've got the one from Umbraco Cloud. So we brought that down locally, and we're copying it and pasting it over into our other folder. And then when we do that, we get this screen when we run it. So we need to restore the content from Umbraco Cloud. Put your hand up if you click on the green button or you skip. So first of all, do you click on the green button? And now, do you click on skip? I always click on skip. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's from the Umbraco V8 days or whatever, but that one's not lucky for me. But the one, if you click on skip, that one, you'll go to the empty back office and you'll be able to restore it from inside the empty back office. That's what I like to do. So this is what I'm talking about. So we click on here, restore from development, and we will bring down our cloud site. And here we are. We've got Mrs. Bouquet's flowers. Hopefully I'm not going to get done for copyright here. But in the UK, this is a comedy TV show. But it's that old that they probably won't care. So yeah, this is a fictitious website that I've pulled down, and it's now running on my local machine. So I've done the first part of it. We've got the site from Umbraco Cloud, and we've got it into our Azure DevOps folder. We'll push that up using Git, and we're ready now to start creating some pipelines. So for creating the pipelines, you go onto the Umbraco docs, and that's the end of the talk. Thank you very much. No, but we go onto the Azure DevOps section of the Umbraco Cloud documentation, and in there, they've got details on how you get access to the files that you will need. So what I do is I take those files down, and I do what all good developers do, and I use the last project that worked. I don't actually go to Umbraco and get it from the documentation. I do it on the one that I know worked last time. They might have changed something since. Hands up if that's what you do as well. Hey. So, yeah. So I've got my files in my folder, and what actually would be a good thing to do now is you could actually create a .NET item template. Anybody created a .NET item template before? Yeah, a few of you. So what would be really helpful here is if you was to create your own internal item template for this sort of thing, so you're not having to copy it from another project. You could actually just install your item template, which would just restore all of these files for you where you need them. But Matt Bliss put his hand up. Well, he nodded. So if you need to know about that, you can ask Matt Bliss. Not got time for that in the talk. But within these files, we've got 3 key files here. They've got the .yaml extension to them. So these are the pipeline files that you get from Umbraco. And in those files, the first one we've got here is the deploy. Who's still with us? Yep. And we've got the deploy file. So what this is doing, to start with, you can just leave it as it is. But what's really good is that you can actually add in your own scripts and things like that. So one of the best things about Umbraco Cloud CI/CD integration for me is that no longer am I having to commit a compiled CSS file and then get merge conflicts, because Carol's also done that, and now we're fighting each other for that. But because we've got our own Azure DevOps and we've got our own Git repo and we're using a pull request process, we can just change the SAS files or maybe the JavaScript, and then those ones that then would get compiled on the build, well, this is the actual script that would run. So you could call this out from your pipeline to run that build prod. And then in here, you can see that I've got some scripts, and that's the one called build prod, and I'm just saying npm run SAS prod, which does SAS and does what it needs to do. So the great thing is that when this pipeline runs, it's actually going to create all of those compiled CSS and JavaScript and things like that for us. So we're in Azure DevOps. We're on the pipelines. We're going to create our pipeline. And we're going to say it lives in the Azure repos Git. What does that mean? Azure repos Git. It feels weird. Azure DevOps repo. So we tell it where it is. And we say, use an existing Azure pipeline. All right, we don't have to wait for it every time. And then we select the existing file. So we say we want it to run on master, and it's this file here. And if you click on the drop-down, you've got the option of which of those files you wanted to pick of those 3 YAML files, because it detects them. So then, when it does it, it's really annoying. It creates it. It just decides the name is called Cloud CI/CD. It's not the name of the file, because that would just be obvious. So you have to make sure that you rename that pipeline so that it's actually the name of the one that you want it to be called. So you click on those dots there, and you click on rename, and then you give it a meaningful name. So of those 3 YAML files, we've now followed this process, and we've created a validate sync pipeline, a deploy pipeline, and a build pipeline. Now, there are many ways to work with pipelines. Some people might say this is an old way of doing it, and there might be newer ways. And I'll be interested in having a chat if you've got some better ways of doing it. These are the ways that work. Remember, we copied it from a previous project. So we've got the validate sync pipeline. That one, it just checks that Umbraco Cloud hasn't done an annoying update on a Tuesday. Hands up if you've had an annoying update on a Tuesday. No, but honestly, it is one of the main benefits of Umbraco Cloud, the fact that they get the patch upgrades and things like that. So that keeps you, so that you don't push your changes up and overwrite that upgrade and revert it back to a previous version or just cause hell. Then we've got a deploy pipeline. That's the one that pushes it to cloud. And we've got the build pipeline. That's the one that generates your CSS files and things like that, and does a build of the actual thing. And the good thing on that, if you are someone who writes unit tests with your project, you could have that build pipeline run that. Anybody write unit tests with everything they do? Ooh, it was the everything they do bit, wasn't it? So, I know it was 80 steps. It's a long, isn't it, on a Friday after bingo. Who decided this? Did they not read the slides? It said 80 steps. So we've got our Umbraco Cloud repo, Umbraco Cloud project, and what we need to get from that is the project ID and the API key. So if we go into Umbraco Cloud and we go to the configuration section of a project, and we click on Advanced, we will get access to the project ID and the API key. Oh, we've got an update from Kim. He's halfway up Big Ben now, so we're halfway through the steps. I've got to be honest, though, I added a few slides in at the hotel, so not quite halfway. So when we have created our pipelines, we can click on variables, and we can put those variables that we got from our Umbraco Cloud configuration advanced tab. And we can create these variables within our pipeline in Azure DevOps. So we're calling it Umbraco Cloud API key. And we also have one for the project ID. And we've got skip check for remote changes. So that's the one, if you've got that set to yes, it won't do the validate sync. And you also tell it what build configuration. So these are the variables that we use on that one. So that's our build pipeline. We want to run that pipeline, so we click on Run. We choose the branch that we want to run it from. Should have changed that master to main. And then we click on Run. Now, this is where we can choose to skip the check for remote changes on the first one. Now, when that runs, we all get green ticks. Hands up if you like the green ticks. Hands up if you got PTSD from Red Crosses. So yeah, it's all run lovely. And you can see itemized within this list on the deploy. It's checked out the cloud CI/CD, it got the sources from zip, it created the deployment, unzipped it, and wait for deploy. So it's all done it all for us. We've not really done anything at this stage. All we've done is put a few files in some places. We've created a few things in Azure DevOps, but really, the community or Umbraco themselves have done the hard work for us. So all the green ticks have run. Everything's happy. How are we doing for time? Yeah. So pull requests. So we've got everything in place now to be able to start using the pull request review process. And what I like to do is set up some branch policies. So I thought also, if you've already done your CI/CD and things like that, maybe you might find it interesting to see the policies that we set up and how we set them up within Azure DevOps. So I've created a dev branch based on master. I've made that the default branch. And I've clicked on branch policies. And then these are the settings. Now, I can share the slides after as well. I know my colleagues have found it useful. Basically, it's a little bit of like a manual when setting this up on another project. So if you'd like the slides, I can share those. So what we're doing here is we're allowing requesters to approve their own changes. That's basically for me. When new changes are pushed, we get it to reset all the code reviewer votes. We check for link work items, make sure that's required, and check for comment resolutions. So when we are doing pull requests and there's something not quite right, we can leave a comment on that one and just give some feedback about it, and then we can ask them to make some changes. But I've got some information about the pull request process as well, which you might find useful. And then what I like to do is just make sure that we can only do rebase and fast forward, or we can do squash merge. Rebase and fast forward is to take all the changes that were in there before and add all your changes on top. And the squash is what you've got in your commit at the moment. It will just look like a nice, clean commit. I really like to use the squash merge, especially when some colleagues somehow, I don't know how, they still manage to have a load of merges. And if I was to do rebase and fast forward, I'd have all those merge commits. And I like a really nice linear path on the Git history. So we've got the build validation. So it's going to validate, it's going to run build pipeline and validate sync pipeline whenever I get a new pull request. And you can automatically include reviewers as well. So we're going to create a new pull request. We've made a change to Mrs. Bouquet's flowers. We've got a sale on, so we need to put something in there to show that there's a sale on. And I assume everybody's done a pull request. Put your hands up if you've not done a pull request. Yeah. You want to go in there? OK, so once that pull request has been triggered, it will start running the build pipeline and the validate sync pipeline for us. So that's the beauty of it, so that maybe someone's committed something and it's not quite right. Well, that's OK, because it's just going to fail on the build pipeline for us. So that's really handy to have that in Azure DevOps before you've pushed it and broken cloud. Then we've got the validate sync pipeline as well. Remember, that's where it's checking to see if the version has changed or anything has changed on the cloud one, maybe someone checked out dev instead of remembering we've now got an Azure DevOps repo with CI/CD. So when all of those things pass, everything's hunky-dory. But one thing I wanted to bring your attention to was the code review emoji guide. Hands up if you're already using the code review emoji guide. Oh, we've got one. So basically, it's a good way of showing your intent with your message. When you're giving some feedback on a pull request, rather than just writing the comment down that could be interpreted in many different ways, this code review emoji guide, if you put in a smiley happy face or a thumbs up or a 100 or maybe a wrench or a question mark, these things might seem obvious now I'm saying it, but if you've got a clear guide that you follow and your team know about that as well, then when they are receiving your comments, they really do know the true meaning of it, and you're not just being snarky, you're just trying to be helpful perhaps. And there are some examples here. So we've got the seedling one. So this is like planting a seedling for the future. It's an observation. You don't necessarily have to change it now, but it might help you think about it in the future. Or the recycle one is a good one. I've seen that you've done this code, but you've also done this over here. So we'll put this emoji at the front. It's really simple, just putting emojis at the front. Windows and dot is really good for getting to the emojis on your Windows machine. I don't know what it is on Mac. So yeah, there's the examples again anyway. So yeah, if you look on GitHub and it's code review emoji guide, it's just a README, and you can pick up all of those that they use on there. But best thing is to share it with your team. Right, we've got an update. It's not from Kim this time. It's from the Goldman, and he's 3/4 of the way up the gherkin. So we're nearly there, everybody. Thanks for staying with us. Right, so we've got everything passed. We've got on our pull request, we've got the comments have been resolved. So now it's time to complete the pull request. And this is my favorite part of the whole thing. Get a little animation. Look at that. So that's the rebase and fast forward animation. I didn't even make it, I just copied it. So yeah, the rebase and fast forward, as I say, it brings all of your changes that you made and adds it on at the end. It's a really good practice to delete the existing branches as well. So now it's time we can deploy. So we've completed the pull request, and automatically, with the pipelines that we've created and set up, the deployment will just trigger, and this will be where it will send it off to Umbraco Cloud for us. And in here, we can see that at the bottom, I'm sorry I didn't do a little red circle, but it tells it to do it only when it's triggered. It triggers this pipeline to run when there's a merge into dev. But you could also have it when there's a merge into main as well if you wanted to. It's up to you how you want to set that up. So once that has triggered, you can see that this is got a few stages. It's got the pre-flight checks. That's hard on a Friday after bingo. It's got the build, test, and package, and then it's got the deploy. And again, that was all set up from the YAML file that was provided by Umbraco. Here's a bit of an extra that I didn't do at the UK festival that I wanted to share with you. And this is what I wrote this is what I did in the hotel. Hopefully, I've hidden any client things. But basically, this is a way that once that deployment has gone, you can actually get it to send a Teams message and to tell the team, actually, there's been a deployment now to Umbraco Cloud dev site. So this is how you would do that. So what I've got is, and there's two ways, actually. This is the way that we do it on here, but there's another way I'll tell you after. So you want to be able to send these Teams messages to your colleagues. Maybe you've got a deployments channel on your Teams. You can create yourself a PowerShell file like this, and what it will do is it will fire this off to a webhook, and it will send this content body, and basically it will say, this project has been deployed to the cloud dev site. And so just simply that file there, and then we update our deploy pipeline at the end, and we say, send a success message onto Teams. And then we tell it the file path. So this was in our DevOps folder within the repo, and that file called send team success notification PowerShell. And the arguments are the project name and the webhook URL. And then what it does is it uses workflows within Microsoft Teams and Office 365. Hands up if you've used these before. Oh, we've got 1, 2. So basically, this is where you can create a webhook that will receive that, and then it will post that to that channel for you as a bot. And it's really handy, really helpful to be able to do these sorts of things. So not only could you do this for your Umbraco Cloud deployments, but you could also do this for anything, really. And within Umbraco Cloud, don't know if you know, but there's a webhook section within Umbraco Cloud. So when something's been deployed to development and staging and live, there are opportunities for, to put a webhook URL for each of those. So you can actually be notified when the Tuesday morning auto upgrades have happened by Umbraco without you knowing about it. It can actually ping, if you use these webhooks, it can actually ping you to let you know. And so in the variables for your pipeline, you can put the webhook URL, and I've also got the project name as well. So that's how you can use the same file, but for different pipelines, different projects, and you just put them into variables. So what's the outcome then? Well, we don't have to check in our compiled CSS files anymore. We can just check in the individual CSS files or SAS files, and all of the compiled stuff like JavaScript and everything doesn't have to be in source control. That's one of the real benefits for me. We've got a new pull request process. So within our team, we can give feedback nice and easily within Azure DevOps. It's what we do for this project, and we can do it now for our cloud projects as well. We can see the nice GIF again of the rebase and fast forward. So what improvements would I make to it? Well, I think one of the improvements is on speed, and I know that Soren, he's improved it. He does something different with his deployments. So if you have a chat with Soren, he might be able to tell you how to improve the speed. But hopefully what he'll do is he'll just do some pull requests, and we'll all get to benefit from his work. Then there is the, if I show you the speed, like it takes like on average about 10 minutes for those deployment pipelines. It's not too bad, but it'd be nice if it was a little bit quicker. Another improvement would be flexible environments, and now is flexible environments, but sort of. So when I say flexible environments, this was on the UK Festival talk. I had this slide in, and they weren't out yet, but they were being worked on, and they are actually out now. So this is the idea. You've got a feature environment, you've got your development, staging, and live. Well, wouldn't it be great to have your CI/CD hooked up to your feature environment, so you're not messing up your development, staging, and live, and you can automatically deploy out to that feature environment. And I was talking to Runa yesterday or the day before, and he's told me that V2 of the Umbraco CI/CD API is being worked on, or maybe out or announced soon, and you can actually choose where you deploy it to, which of these environments you want to. So that's really cool. So yeah, that's just showing where, a project that does have one of those feature environments. And then the fixing out of sync can be a bit of a pain. That's the only thing I don't really like about it. And honestly, if anyone's found an easier way of fixing the out of sync, then I would love it if you got in touch and let me know, share your knowledge and experience on that one. But what we have to do is we call a PowerShell script that basically just checks out what's on cloud, and it creates a pull request for us locally to our Azure DevOps Git repo, and it does it. It just adds an extra step, and it'd be great if there's automatic merging of that. Maybe Umbraco's moved on, because remember, I'm copying from a previous project. So let's have a look and see where we are. We've got an update. So the Goldman and Kim, 100%. You've gone through the steps. Congratulations. We did it. That was just my favorite slide. So going back to the beginning, so what are the benefits? So the benefits are you can build it your own way. You can have a pull request process. You can use the code review emoji guide to give nice feedback to your colleagues. And you've got simple deployments to Umbraco Cloud. So if you don't want to do it, if you can't be bothered, hands up if you can't be bothered to set it up yourself. Oh, no, everyone's interested. That's good. But if you did want help, you could always reach out, and I might be able to help you set it up. All right, thanks, everybody.